Hello children and families of Cloister Club in Exeter Cathedral. It's Canon Morwenna here, recording a story for you for the second Sunday of Lent. One of the readings this Sunday comes from the book of Genesis, and it tells the story of Abraham. I'm going to be telling that story, but also looking back to an earlier part of that story as well that helps explain what happened in the reading today. Your families might be able to find that reading for you. It's in Genesis 17 if you want to go back to it, some of you older ones. I'm going to start telling the story by asking you a question. Have you ever tried to count all the stars in the sky? Well, no, I haven't either, but we'll find out why I'm asking you that question in a minute. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, there was a man called Abram. Abram was a good man who owned many sheep and cattle. He lived with his wife Sarai in the land of Haran, but they had no children. One day, God came to Abram. We don't know how that happened. It might have been a dream or a vision. We don't know for sure. But God came to Abram and said to him, Abram, I want you to pack up all your things and go on a journey. I want you to leave your home, and I want you to go to a new land that I will give you. I promise that I will bless you and make your family great, and I will be with you in everything you do. And because of you, all the families on earth will be blessed. Well, that was quite a promise, wasn't it? But it was a scary one too. It meant that Abram would have to leave his home, to leave the place he knew and go to a place he didn't know at all. He would have to trust God that everything would be okay. But amazingly, that's just what Abram did. Abram took his wife Sarai and their nephew Lot. They packed up everything they owned in the land of Haran and they moved to the land of Canaan. That was the land that God was leading them to. It couldn't have been an easy move to make. They would have had to travel with their animals and live in tents. And Abraham was quite old when he was told to move. And if you look at a map, Canaan is a long way away from Haran. But Abraham did that, and they settled in the new land. But Abraham and Sarai still had no children. One warm, starry night, many years after their journey, Abraham was resting in his tent after a hard day's work. They were still living in tents, even after the journey, because they had to move from place to place to find food for their cattle and their sheep. Abraham thought it was night like any other, until God appeared to him again. This must have been a surprise, and perhaps a little bit scary too, but God said to Abraham, don't be afraid. I promise that I will give you a great reward. But Abraham said, but what kind of reward? And then God told Abraham to look up at the starry sky. God said, look up at the stars in the sky. You will have a son, and he will have children, and his children will have children, and they will have more children, and one day they will be as many as the stars in the sky. Abraham said, but how can this be? We have no son. Good God had made a promise to Abraham. God promised Abraham that he would have children, and that from him a great nation would come. God promised that they would live in the land that God had given them, and God promised, because of Abraham, all people on the earth would be blessed. And God kept his promises. And to mark that, he gave Abram a new name, Abraham, and Sarai was called Sarah. Now, this story is a story treasured by both Christians and Jews who look back to Abraham as an example of faith in God. But we think about Abraham, especially as Christians in Lent, because Abraham trusted in God and went on that long journey. The weeks of Lent can feel a bit like a journey as we wait for Easter. I've drawn a really quick sketch here. If you think of all of the Sundays in Lent, working their way up to Easter, which is the sun on the horizon there. It's a bit as if through the Sundays of Lent we've been walking our way through that journey. Sometimes we give things up in Lent, don't we? And it can seem a very long time to give up chocolate biscuits or other nice things. But I think the way in which we journey through Lent reminds us that God is always with us, even though sometimes we might find our journey through life a little bit difficult. God is with us like he was with Abraham. So next time there's a really starry night, perhaps let's all take a moment to look up in the sky and remember God's promise to Abraham. And it's looking like a nice clear day today, so perhaps we'll be able to do that this evening. Let's just close with a prayer that we can pray together. Dear God, we thank you that you are with us on our journeys. You're with us on our big journeys, like our journey through life, from one birthday to another. As we move from one school to another, as we move house. You're with us on our journey through school as we move from one class to the next. And you're with us on this shorter journey, our journey through Lent. As we move through the weeks and we look forward to Easter. We thank you that you are with us in all of these things. And that you are faithful as you were with Abraham. Thank you for being with us, God. And please be with us, our families, and all our friends. Amen. So I've given you some drawings that you might want to colour in. I'll send them to you on our Telegram account for the Cloister Club. I've enjoyed speaking with you this week. I hope you enjoy the story and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.